So then, if you wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, you'd have to change your personality, which means you'd have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it.
For many years, I've had a lot of autoimmune issues that have shown up for me starting in my 20s.
You'd have to become aware of your unconscious habits and behaviors and even what you say and modify them.
It started with food allergies, many food allergies. It got to the point that it became really painful just to drink water.
And then you'd have to look at those emotions that keep you anchored to the past and decide if those emotions belong in your future. So most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. We literally have to become someone else. In other words, thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. So most people have experiences in their life that brand them emotionally. They feel fear, they feel anger, they feel bitterness, they feel frustration, they feel insecurity. And those emotions then become part of their identity. So once they think certain thoughts that turn on certain circuits in their brain that are equal to their insecurity, and then they feel insecure. The moment they feel insecure, they think more insecure thoughts, which makes more chemicals for them to feel insecure. And the repetition of that cycle over time conditions the body to subconsciously become the mind of insecurity. So then the person says, I am insecure. And whenever you say, I am anything, you're commanding your mind and body towards a destiny. So then most people's biology is, for the most part, their past. And so if you're not being defined by the vision of the future, some new possibility in your life, you're only left with the old circuitry in your brain and the old emotions of the past. So the question then is, can you believe in a future that you can't see or experience with your senses yet, but you've thought about enough times in your mind that your brain is literally changed to look like the experience has already occurred? Now, the latest research in neuroscience says you can change your brain just by thinking. So then, as you begin to think about a new possibility, and your brain begins to fire in new sequences and new patterns and new combinations, and you begin to plan your behaviors, and you begin to review in your mind, mentally rehearse who you're going to be in your life, the mere action of mental rehearsal begins to install the neurological circuits in your brain. Now your brain is no longer a record of the past. Now it's in fact a map to the future. And if you were then to begin to emotionally embrace your future before it's made manifest, in other words, you're not waiting for your healing to feel wholeness. You're not waiting for your new relationship to feel love. You're not waiting for the mystical moment to feel awe. You're not waiting for your success to feel empowered. That's the old model of reality of cause and effect. In other words, the materialist, the person who's waiting for their wealth to come to feel abundance, they're living by that model of cause and effect. But the quantum model is about causing an effect, which means you begin to experience your own worthiness and your abundance before it occurs. You have to feel wholeness in order for your healing to occur. We have to feel love for ourselves and love for life in order for us to have love in our life. And so then to instruct people how to teach their body emotionally how that future could feel like before it's made manifest, if they do it properly, their body as the unconscious mind begins to believe it's living in that future reality in the present moment, and they're beginning to signal new genes in new ways that begins to change their body to look like the event has already occurred. So the process of change in the meditative model requires unlearning and relearning. It requires breaking the habit of the old self and reinventing a new self. What we say in neuroscience, pruning synaptic connections and sprouting new connections, unfiring and unwiring and refiring and rewiring, unmemorizing emotions that are stored in the body and then reconditioning the body to a new mind and to a new emotion. No longer signaling the same genes in the same way, but signaling new genes in new ways. beginning to pull your energy out of the past and beginning to invest your energy into the future. What we're teaching people how to do is not to pray to have their prayers answered, but to get up from their meditations as if their prayers are already answered. Because when they're combining that clear intention of their future with that elevated emotion, they're literally changing their energy, they're changing their brain chemistry, they're changing the way their brain works, they're changing their genetic expression, they're changing their chemistry. They're literally becoming somebody else. And over again, when people do this, it may take them months to turn their disease around. But over and over again, we've seen this. They come back to a certain level of awareness, and the disease is no longer there. And it's almost like the disease existed in the old personality. They're literally someone else. And we've seen it enough times now to know that people reach a certain point with themselves where they feel so whole. They feel so satisfied with who they are. They feel so happy with themselves and their lives that they could care less if they have the disease. And that's the moment it goes away over and over again.
For many years, I've had a lot of autoimmune issues that have shown up for me starting in my 20s. It started with food allergies, many food allergies. It got to the point that it became really painful just to drink water, and my body would swell up. And over the years, my symptoms just continued to progress, where I had disfiguring facial swelling, rashes, Raynaud's. My rheumatologist said that I presented symptoms of every autoimmune disease there was, but the only one that they could diagnose me with was Hashimoto's. And I was just this mystery person. They couldn't really figure me out. So in August of last year, my sister brought to my attention, and a friend of mine also, breast implant illness. And I thought, oh my gosh, this could be it. So I get on this Facebook group, and there's all these women that have similar symptoms as me. And I chose to explant in August. So I had the breast implants removed. And while over time, as my body detoxed, those were definitely a physical stress to my body with all of the chemicals that were in there. Many of my symptoms went away, but the one thing that I so wanted, I shouldn't say the one thing, but one of the many things that I wanted to go away were my food intolerances. So foods that would be healthy to other people like coconut or turmeric were like poison to me. I had a blood analysis test done showing all the foods that caused autoimmune reactions, and even lettuce. I couldn't have lettuce, avocado, cherries. I mean, the list, it was so long. I couldn't have any grains, and I tried every diet from paleo to vegan. And my biggest joke with all my friends and clients were, I'm the unhealthiest, healthiest person you've ever met, and I should be in a bubble. Well, I should have been more mindful of what I was saying. So anyway, but the food allergies, I'm assuming because of the antibiotics after my surgery, they actually became worse. And the very few foods that I was able to eat, I no longer could even eat those. And a friend of mine talked to me about a heart-brain coherence course and said that, you know, it's helped a lot of people with autoimmune issues and food allergies. And so I decided to take this course. And once I applied what I had learned in this course, I was able to reverse all of my many food allergies overnight. And in this course, the gal that teaches it, she was mentioning the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Bruce Lipton. And I was like, wow, I know those guys. Like, I have their books. I have a love of books. I don't watch television. I haven't for years. But I love to learn. I love to expand my mind. I love self-development, spirituality, science. And so I took such a deep dive into Dr. Joe's work, and I would go to bed at night listening to videos. As I'm waking up in the middle of the night, I'm still listening. I had it on YouTube, and it was just playing continuously. And when I would take a shower, I'm propping up my phone in the shower, and I'm like listening literally all day long while I'm getting ready, in between clients, every chance I could. And before I started doing his work, I just thought, I just want to submerge myself in this. Something told me, just keep listening to this. It's like my inner being knew this is truth. Just keep taking it in, keep listening to it. And I have just submerged myself in it so much that now I can intelligently speak about it. And I know I created new neural pathways because of that. But once I realized, I was like, wow, if I have 60, 70,000 thoughts per day, this course I had taken recommended using only an hour a day of your time to have that heart-brain coherence. I was like, no way, that's like going to church on Sunday and just acting however you want to during the week. I'm like, no, I want to become this. So I started all my sentences out with, I'm so happy and grateful that. So even if it's a bad day, you know, I'm so happy and grateful that I've got all 10 of my fingers, I've got all 10 of my toes, and even, you know, I don't like the veins in my legs, but, you know, even though I'm so happy and grateful I have 2 strong walking legs that get me to where I'm going, literally everywhere I looked, I'm so happy and grateful I live in a beautiful, safe environment. I have clean water to drink. Started blessing the water as I'm taking a shower, thanking it for cleaning my body, just everything that I could to raise my frequency. And those symptoms just kept continuing to dissolve and get better and better and better. I can eat everything. Can you believe that? I can eat everything. I have no limitations anymore. And what I did is, even in my healing process, was, you know, my old language was, oh, I have autoimmune disease, and oh, I have these food allergies. And what I felt was anxiety around my food. I felt that food was the enemy. I had so much anxiety and embarrassment too, because I didn't know how my body was going to react. And what I did was I held on to so much feeling of love and gratitude, opening up that heart center, because I know that every word, thought, and feeling leaves that electromagnetic signature onto every cell in the body. And for me, I went back to the times of when I first held my children in my arms, you know, holding on to that love to the point that I just had tears streaming down my face. And then I used visualization techniques. I know that the limbic brain doesn't know the difference between past, present, or future, so I told myself I was 5 years old. And I went back to a time where sloppy joes were my favorite food when I was little. So I said, I'm 5 years old and I'm eating sloppy joes. And I could see my mother in the kitchen. I could hear my siblings, using all my senses, in the back room. I could smell the smell of the sloppy joes. And I held that bread up to my mouth, that sandwich, and I was feeling the sensation of you know, taking a bite into it and what it tasted like. And I was having such a feeling of joy and just feeling of carefree. And I envisioned my intestines, instead of being a disaster, out of all the work I ever did and all the money I spent on trying to heal myself, I envisioned it being perfectly healthy. And I said, food is my friend, and my stomach can, you know, produce all the acids and enzymes it needs to digest anything that I choose, anything that I desire. And I just held on to a feeling of so much gratitude. And so that was my process. And so, yeah, I don't have any, I'm over here eating bread. I can eat coconut, like corn, anything. I just wanted to also add that, you know, removing those breast implants definitely was a physical stress to my body, but the one thing I didn't address was the emotional stress. I was molested as a small child. I ran away from home at 12 and I was raped. I got into abusive relationships. 4.5 years ago, my daughter, at the age of 22, fell 5 stories from her apartment building. She managed to survive that fall, but you can imagine the stress, taking that in as a mother and watching your child suffer in that way. You know, what that did to me physically. And that's, you know, at the brink of when, you know, things got even extra bad for me also physically. So it's just really, it's so wonderful to be able to see the difference. Now that I know what I know, I can never go back to that old way of being. Once I understood the process, once I applied it, this is going to sound almost crazy, it worked immediately. I think I just enveloped myself in it. I just thought, I don't want to have a practice, like I have to become this. I just drank it in and I just became it fully. And I know that just sounds almost too good to be true, but that is how, you know, matter doesn't change matter. Energy changes matter. And believe me, I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on all kinds of blood work and saliva testing, stool testing, everything in the world you can imagine. Seen all the specialists, and you know, when I chose to stop hiding behind the shadows of my story and being in that place of victimhood and reliving the traumas in my mind again and again and again, and I chose to create a new reality, and through, you know, any reality there's multiple realities in all realities, you know, it's which lens are you going to choose to look through. Even my daughter's accident, You know, we choose to, in the midst of tragedy, to focus on everything that went right instead of everything that went wrong. And she defied every odd. And, you know, just even using that technique, you know, we were told she may never walk again. She's probably going to have her right foot amputated. She would have to have a permanent colostomy bag, a permanent catheter. And I would not allow her to believe any of that. And I would even walk her through guided meditation after her surgeries, and that actually helped her reduce her pain more than all the drugs that they had given her for pain. So it's just amazing what energy can do.